Okay, so we had an interruption. So that was all the questions. Now I'm basically starting the aside. So it says Vayake eight shasal pagimayim, and it says talking about Talmid Chacham was learning Torah, and Talmid Chacham is like a tree that is planted al pagimayim, and it says period to be itoi. Okay, so says the Medrash Tehillim. Natua eno emer el shasal lamedcha shefil kol ruach sheboilam nefesh boy imedez mekayimai. It says la yomer sefer Torah zami picha imasisa kain az tatzliach der esterechecha ba'olam hazeh. So the Medrash is going out of its way to tell us that what is this pasuk saying? It's saying that if you recline yomer sefer Torah zami picha from your mouth, which is our entire inyan, that amelus and adam is the amal yulad, and the amal yulad is amal peh, and the amal peh is the shailay or tzicha or Torah. And we decided, the Gemara says that Ashrei is someone who uses his peh for Torah. And the Medrash Tehillim was also saying, Torah zami picha, if you did that, you're an H shasel. So what's the aside of eighth shasel? And the answer to the question is really a groundbreaking concept, which unfortunately in modern times is extremely, extremely hard for people to conceptualize, but at the same time is 100% the reality of the case. And that is that when you look at a tree, the most basic characteristic that comes out at one is that a tree functions as something which is the basis of. You start off with trunk of the tree, and then you have many branches that shoot out from the trunk of the tree, and the tree supports and gives nutrients to the branches, which then grow the fruits that are from it. And really, there's a pasuk I believe in Parshas, I forget what Parsha it is, but it says Mefurish, it says Ki ha'adam eitz hasadeh. It's a straight out pasuk of the Torah. It says those exact words. Because man is eitz hasadeh. He is the eitz of the field. That's a straight out pasuk in the Torah. Mind-boggling thing. And what that means, and this is really what the Gemara means, that people are born for Amal Peh. People, the aside of the creation of mankind is that mankind is meant to serve as a vessel. He is meant to be something which is the basis of something else. I want you to get that aside very clear. The truth of the purpose of mankind, no matter who it is that he or she is going to be the basis of another thing. That is called Amal Peh. Why is that called Amal Peh? Why is that the mouth? Because the mouth is the thing which separates us from animals, and it is a thing which you use to communicate. And communication is the thing which makes it that someone can be the basis of something or someone else, because they can communicate with that thing. And therefore, the aside of this idea is that a person, we think in modern Western society that the goal of a human being is not to be the basis of something, but is to be the consumer of something. So the more, in Western Ashkafa, the more that I consume, the more that I possess, the more that I have access to, whether even in Kamas or Echos, that is going to be the way that you assess the value of what I am. And that is a completely anti-Torah, an anti-truth reality of assessment of what is true of the human nature. And this is what we see what the Torah is telling us, is Vayake eitz shasu al pal geimayim. Ultimately, the tachlis of everything is to be a basis of something else. When we look at our lives, we should be looking of how to be the basis of someone or something else, because that is going to be the amelus, our amelus. And when we say amelus, we don't even mean necessarily toil, which is true. In Maisa, it's true, because most people spend most of their lives toiling to be the basis of something else, whether it's the basis of money that you make, or the basis of children, or the basis of... No one spends their life singularly within themselves without needing anything, or to be anything, or to be the basis of anything else, and is just joy like that. Those people are not human beings. That's not an Adam. And therefore, the aside is that the Torah is telling you that you have to completely uproot your way of looking at what it is that your tachlis is. Your tachlis is to be a basis of something, to be an eitz, a tree. A tree is the basis for its branches and the offshoot of the tree. And that is the Gemara Sanhedrin saying that everyone is nivra la'amal peh. We are all living in an interrelated world, and we each have our point in that interrelated world that we are the basis of a given reality or concept or person. And that is our tachlis. And therefore, the first thing to understand is a person is created to be the basis of, not the consumer of. And that is true on every level of simcha and of self-gratification and of self-completion. And that is the basic yisod. Now, and this is what Rashi meant when Rashi said that the pshat of the Gemara is napartiki, and Rashi says that's a long pouch that holds mice. So you're be a receptacle. The basis of what it means to be a human being is to be a receptacle for a different thing. And that comes through amal peh, through talking. And amal over here just means that this is something that you're going to be, this is what you're going to spend your time doing. It is a definition of what you are, whether you like it or not. And that's why the lack of communication or socialization of a person is intuitively seen as a defect. Because the reality is that if someone is not serving as a basis to something else, through communicating with that thing, whatever it may be, that is yotzei from the gather of what an adam is. And now the question becomes, what is it that you're going to be a basis of? You have to be a basis of something. That's adam la'amul yulad, and it's for a basis of amira, with your pet. Now, what are you going to be a basis of? What are you going to be the receptacle for? And now comes in that it's la'amal Torah. La'amal Torah means that a person, it's not the aside that a person is toiling. In other words, that the toil refers to the intensity of depth and of effort that's being concentrated at a singular given point. Amal means not a amount of intensity in a singular given point, but the overall mission and the overall idea of the entirety of existence of what you're doing, of what you are. Is that when we say that Hashem begs us, what does it mean that Hashem begs us to do something? Hashem begs us to recognize that we are receptacles, and that is our tachlis. We are an eitz, we are a tree, and we're born la'amal peh, which means to communicate to others and be the basis for them, whether it's concepts or people or things. And he's begging us to make ourselves the receptacle of Torah, because that will be the most conducive to the completion of who we are and what we are meant to be. And that's what it means, im bechkosi tilech. What does it mean that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying, if you do it, and that's a begging thing, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying, you have an option of what you're going to do. And the fact that you have an option is what means that I need you to choose, I'm begging you to choose the correct option, which is bechkosi telechu, which is that you will go in my chukim. Now let's go back based off this and clarify the original questions. We said that being amal b'Torah, how does that translate into chok, which is not intuitive? So now we have the answer to the question, because the premise of our question was that what does it mean, amelim b'Torah? It means that you have a singular moment or singular time period of intensity, of toil in Torah. And that is what bechkosi means. And now we discovered that we're wrong. Amal Torah doesn't mean that. Amal Torah means that you make it the entirety of the mission of what it is that you view as being your purpose in life. That's what amal means. That's the new definition. That's what the Gemara says. Amal adam la'amul yulad la'amal peh, and he was born to have an amal in Torah. So that's the definition of amal based off the Gemara Sanhedrin. And therefore, it's no longer a kasha that it will be intuitive. It's not intuitive, because you could say, well, I'll be a doctor, I'll be a lawyer, when one identifies himself and his mission and what he is a receptacle for with something other than Torah, that is okay, but it is not bechkosi telechu. Bechkosi telechu is a demand that a yid, a Jewish person, identifies himself as his main goal in life to be a receptacle for the Torah HaKadosha and HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Ratzon that comes from within that, the Torah HaKadosha. Period. Whether he actually works or doesn't work is not even relevant. The point is, what does he identify, the reality of what he is? And that is what Hashem, that is what it means, bechkosi telechu. And now, we can understand what it means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mavarich with the bechkosi telechu from Aleph to Tav. Because since we say that Aleph to Tav is all the letters in the Torah, and it's the entire Jewish Hebrew alphabet, and it says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Istaka Baraisu Barak Alma, and therefore, what does it mean that HaKadosh Baruch Hu blesses us with all the letters in the Torah? It means that our identification of ourselves as people who are La'amal Yulad, Amal Peh, a receptacle of Torah, which is the Ratzon HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the blessing comes from the fact that we now become kaviyachol, our ratzon and ourselves become one with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And our existences entirely, all of our existence becomes validated from Aleph to Tav. Everything that's in existence, all the words and all the concepts and all the things which can be permutations of Aleph to Tav, of the entire Hebrew alphabet, which is all of the Torah and therefore the entire world, that is all validated when we make ourselves receptacles for HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Ratzah. And that's how we identify our singular missions in life. And now that we have that understanding, we can understand a beautiful and amazing medrash that it says over here. And what does that medrash say? It says like this. It's a beautiful medrash. The medrash says that David HaMelech says like this. Amar David. David said, Ribbon Shalom. He says, God, every day, I was thinking and I was saying, you know what? I have to go to the grocery store. I have to go to visit my friend. I have to go to play something. Right? I'm going to this place, and I'm going to a certain location, a certain man's house. And you know what happened? Vayuraglai, my legs, my legs would bring me to a base knesses and a base medrash. And that's what it says. And then my legs will bring me to your eidos, meaning to your chukim, meaning to your Torah. What does this marriage have to do with bechkosi telechu? What does that have to do with toiling? What shaykhus? No. But now that we understand that the whole yesod of Amal Yulad is that a person views the singular purpose of his existence to be a receptacle for the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in his Torah, so now it makes perfect sense. David HaMelech reached a point in his life that he came to the point where he identified this as his singular mission. He identified it not as his mission, as the reality of what he was. And since that's the reality of what he was, this is what happened to him. He said, I have to go visit my friend. I want to go hang out, go schmooze, go to a hockey game. And his legs, his body, his chayfetz, his ratzon, his being would on its own just shift him and make him go to a beis medrash and to learn Torah. How does that happen? You know how that happens? Because he marked and he identified and he fully understood and realized on an emotional level that the reality of his existence, his entirety of his purpose is to be a receptacle for the words of Torah. And therefore his own body, counter to what his singular point of seichel wanted, his own body just led him to Bate Knesset, Bate Midrashos. Good Shabbos.